mess. I think there are a lot, some that kind of stand out. Um, Going back many, many years, there were the high school memories, the sports teams, successes that we had there. One thing that made me feel really good about the town maybe 20 years ago was, I think, when the town was imposing a building moratorium, and all the contractors and local folks got together and kind of paraded down on town hall and the courthouse. And it just made me feel good about my town, that people were standing up for what they believed was right, and they weren't just going to be bowled over, and made me feel good to be a resident of the town. I think really seeing the example of my father and his business, which he started in the 60s and did very well with. I was in high school and college in the 80s, so it was kind of Dodge City around here on the Cape, I think, at that time, with development and real estate, and it was a booming economy, and I saw a lot of that. And I was when I was at Boston College, I was working a little bit for my dad when I was home, doing a few things, and got a taste of it. And I really liked the independence of being able to work for myself, work in the family company, and be on the Cape. Don't regret that decision. It's been almost 30 years now, and I've run the business, have my sister there with me. So it's been a good choice, but I think the initial reason to get into it was seeing how well it worked for my family, for my father, and potentially for me, and it's been great. I guess I've been blessed to have a wonderful father and mentor and family, and he grew up here, kind of, I think he had 6, 7 sisters, lived in a little house up on North Street, 1 bath, got up early, got out the door early. So he started his life with a lot of simple, good lessons, and did well in school, worked hard, was a good athlete, and he got into the Naval Academy somehow, coming from Cape Cod back in 1955 it would have been. And I think he tells a story once in a while that a doctor got him through. He kind of had a bad knee, passed the physical. He might have been a 3rd or 4th alternate to get in, but he stayed the course, and that persistence got him to the U.S. Naval Academy, where he played football with the likes of, Heisman Trophy winner. He was a little bit before Staubach, but he only played for 2 years and hurt that knee again. But the lacrosse coach got a hold of him, and he ended up being an All-American his senior year. So to answer your question, little intimidating. Big shoes to fill, tough act to follow, but I'm my own person, and it's taken me a long time to realize I don't have to be my father. I can just be happy that he is my father. And but he's got great stories which he'll never tell. That's just the way he is. He's very stoic, and we call him Swamp Yankees around here. His mother was an Eldridge, had a farm in Yarmouthport on the water, which he worked on growing up. And of course, the Murphys were fixtures in town. And so he grew up in a very humble, simple time, I think, on Cape Cod, what I know of it. And it's been a pleasure to be a part of that. I try to be. And I think that's the most important thing we can, at least I can do as a father, is try to be the best example I can, to, pass on what was given to me and the example that was set for me. I think to some extent my wife and I have had success doing that, and it's funny, it was kind of regressing when he was young, my son, doing all the things with him that my father did with me. And as parents, I didn't really appreciate the sacrifices and the time and the energy, and you're the same way, of what it takes to be a part of your children's lives in a meaningful way. Sometimes it's just showing up, sometimes it's the time. But I kind of relived those years, 20, 30 years later with my son, and it's been fantastic. And now I know why we do it. It's so fulfilling to know that you're giving somebody else a chance, you're helping somebody else out. We do it because we love our family, and part of that is loving our town, where we choose to live, where we grow up, the people we know and meet, and lifelong friends. We're kind of all in this together, maybe more so even on the Cape, where it's, there's not many of us left. We've got to stick together, and it's really an isolated, closed community in some respects, just because of where we are geographically, which I think makes it pretty interesting. I would love to, but I don't. I live on Wequaga Lake, and I don't have a boat. We'll jump in the water a lot, but there was a time when I spent a lot more time on the water. But other things, life happens, and now I'm driving to girls' volleyball games or football camps or you name it, and priorities change a little bit. But we'll get back to the water maybe in 5, 10 years. My son's at a wonderful place. I remind him all the time in the text messages that appreciate where you are today and know that you're very lucky to be there. And he knows that. And part of him being there and playing football, and by the way, they're going to Japan in 3 days. The Princeton football team is going to Japan to tour the country, and it's part of their spring ball, play an exhibition game against the national champs of Japan, university champs. I guess they play very good football over there. So what an experience. He was playing Silver Bullets not too long ago over here, and playing high school football at Barnstable High School, and he was in Gillette Stadium against vaunted Everett High School, which we lost by 2 points. Beat them the first time. All great stuff, just all great stuff, and my son's doing well academically, as well as athletically at Princeton, and we're very grateful that there's no one thing that got him there. I think the town has a lot to do with that. His coaches, his teachers, all the folks who helped him out, and there are many in this town who have helped him out to get where he is. Gretchen's from Michigan, and she grew up in a little town outside Detroit where it's all corporate America. It's General Motors, it's Ford, Chrysler. So for her to come, I met her in Boston. She was living in Boston when I met her. For her to come to the Cape and start living here and raising a family in 22 years later, it's culture shock. Again, I referred to Dodge City, which I think this place kind of used to be, and where it was, freedom, independence, sort of, making your own way type thing. She came from a much more structured environment where you went to the State University in Michigan, and then you went to General Motors, U.S. Steel, whatever it was, and then you moved to a city. So I don't know if she's encouraging anybody anytime soon to come back to the Cape right after college or high school and work here. I think she'll tell you that go out and experience the world, and the Cape is always here for you and a wonderful place to come back to. And I don't disagree with her. I grew up at a time when hockey was big in town, from the late 60s through when I was there. Hockey was it. I think the neighborhoods were a lot more defined. There were the kids from Centerville, the kids from Cotuit, kids from Osterville, Hyannis. And I'm not so sure it's that way anymore. I think certain parts of town have kind of, it's hard to live there as a year-round family. But it was a tight community then. I remember it was, it would all kind of revolved around the school and the community and the sports, and we had some success in hockey, won a Division II state championship, 1980 I think it was. But it's probably fairly similar to how it is today. I think the school's come a long way. I think the school's wonderful. I think the programs are incredible, whether it's theater or drama, you know, the music. And look at the girls' sports. I mean, they win state championships in everything now. And you know, the boys' sports are good, excellent. Wonderful man. You see him around town in Osterville. He looks like he could go out and play for Merrimack University, Merrimack College, play hockey right now. Just kind of timeless. He was a wonderful coach. I think he's in the Hall of Fame. Really came from, I think, Chelmsford, and just got right into the community, took over the program, which had won a state championship in 1972, I think. And took him a while to get there, but he did, and left it in wonderful condition, and his legacy remains today. He coached my younger brother too, you know, 7, 8 years after me. And one of his best players, probably his favorite persons, is Scotty Nickerson, who I guess just retired. And you know, so that's the kind of insular thing that you get down here is, you know, the next guy stepping up with the mentor and the protege, and it's really kind of neat. Well, for me it was the Super Bowl, the day 2 years ago, I think it was 2012 actually, our football team was 12-0, ranked #1 in the state for most of the season after we had beaten Everett High School. My son was a junior. I had been involved with these boys since they were 7, 8 years old, playing Silver Bullets and coaching and growing up, you know, with my son. And we won a playoff game, a couple playoff games, I guess, to get to the Super Bowl, and it was going to be a rematch with Everett High School, who had one loss to us, and it was just the dream showdown. But more than just the game, it was the whole buzz around the town, how everybody just came out of the woodwork and united, and you know, there were caravans of cars and buses going up to Gillette, and you know, I was seeing people I hadn't seen in years, and we had I don't know what the attendance was, but just a huge showing from the town of Barnstable at that game. It just made me feel very good about where I came from and the school and the community. And I think we have the opportunity in this town to be a little different at that level, where we don't have all the parochial schools around us like in Boston, where they play, you know, they have great schools, the BC Highs, the Xaverians. We have a chance to keep everybody here and have the best sports teams, the best academics, theater, drama, all those things, if the kids stay. And I think it's kind of my little side mission to, you know, talk to families and younger kids and give them my input on how I feel about Barnstable and why it's a good thing to not send your kid away to school in general. For some people, that's, you know, that's a good thing, but I just think we have the opportunity to be really excellent in many respects by staying right here in high school. I think my first job was, my first real job, let's say, was at the paddock. John and Maxine's Arterian, wonderful operators. Never seen anybody who knew more about the restaurant business than they. And worked there 2 or 3 summers, had a lot of good memories. I was a busboy, and that was the restaurant. And a lot of my friends worked there, and we had a great time. You know, it was a night job, so we could go out in the boat during the day. That's when I did have the boat, when I was 16 years old. And so those memories, those times, you know, you have to seize the moment, because life changes, and those are fun days. Well, it'd be 28 years, believe it or not, in June. Changed dramatically. I mean, the basic tenets are all still there. It's a service industry for what I do, and it's your relationships with people. Obviously, technology and regulation has changed a lot in those, let's call it 25, 30 years. I think as a result of those big times I was talking about during the 80s, you know, the result was had to clamp down on development, and there's a lot of regulation, a lot of maybe bureaucracy came into play. And so I think today there's a lot more of that, a lot more regulation. My opinion, maybe overregulation, which impedes the business cycle, development, growth, jobs. All of these things, I always go back to the example of my dad used to talk about in the 70s, the industrial park. Here was a perfect piece of land, zoned industrial, zoned for the use of creating, you know, small, light, clean industry, build a 30,000-foot building for whomever, and bring great jobs to the Cape, a place where they can work. But those things get slowed down by regulation and rolling up the carpet once you've got yours on the Cape. There's a place for sensible growth. And I think the economy's suffered over the years. We have our peaks and valleys. The cycle is, it happens, but I think we could do a better job of promoting economic growth, and it's not through, it's through deregulation, not overregulation. Well, what's not to like about the summer? That was always my favorite. I think now as I get older, it's the fall. Summer, as soon as I came back to the Cape and started working and got married, it was a place for all our friends from all over the country to come visit while I'm trying to work. That doesn't work so well, but now it's the fall. It's the weather's still beautiful, maybe even nicer. The crowds have gone. school's in session. There's a more sense of normalcy, and of course, you know, I keep talking about the football, but we love that season and doing those things with the kids. So fall would be the best time. There is no spring on Cape Cod, so it's really process of elimination. Jim Murphy, Centerville.